I'll ever regret that.
So I gave it back to you on Friday. Make sure your name is on it somewhere. So I'm gonna write Mrs. Love over here.
I'll pick out my
Guys, the extra noise is not helpful at all. Okay. So. Now, we're gonna learn some ways to multiply integers. Remember, integers are any whole number and its opposite. So what's the opposite of 4?
Two.
-4. And what's the opposite of 18?
-18.
All right, so we're talking about negative numbers and positive numbers when we're looking at integers. Right, Lacey? Excellent. Okay, so I am not crazy about multiplying using algebra tiles, but I will. No, I'm just gonna skip it. Sometimes I have felt like the new curriculum sometimes confuses us because there's lots of different methods instead of just giving you one and having you practice that one more.
Yeah, why don't you just give us a simple one?
So we're gonna try and keep it as simple as possible, but I do want you to see a couple different ways. So, because right here on page 149, it says, learn multiply integers with different signs. Because multiplication is repeated addition, you could use a number line to show that 3 times -6 means that -6 is used as an added, 3 times. So -6 this way, then -6, then -6. All right. But we can also just multiply. So here is the important part of multiplying integers. I think you will like it a lot more than adding and subtracting because you don't have to think them through. You just need to know the 2 rules. Here's the first one. The product of 2 integers with that's not helpful. The product of 2 integers with different signs is negative. So if I have a 3 and a -6, it's still just 3 times 8. I'm sorry, 3 times 6. I was giving you the answer. It's still 3 times 6, but since my signs are different, my answer is negative. So it doesn't matter if it's positive times a negative or negative times a positive. If my signs are different, my answer is negative. But I'm still straight up multiplying. Fair? Straight up. The only thing we're asking ourselves at the end is my answer positive or negative? Now on the back of this page, on page 150, is our first example. You could use a number line and go back -7 5 times, or and say that it's -35, or you could say, well, what is 7 times 5? 7 times 5 equals 35. And since integers with different signs result in a negative answer, remember product is a fancy word for answer to a multiplication problem. All right, so remember, a couple things we have to recall, of course, is that parentheses denote multiplication when we have 2 numbers next to each other. The other thing we have to denote and remember is our rule, right? When our signs are different, our answer is negative. Okay? So here, I still have 7 times 5, which is 35. Hey.
Carter, do you have a Chromebook with you?
It's this one. I had emailed Michelle. Thank you. I'll steal that.
Stole a Chromebook?
So 7 times 5 is 35, and since my signs are different, my answer is negative. So again, still -35. Now, with that being said, we just need to know what 9 times 13 is to be able to do this one. Well, I can use my planner. Looking for my planner. Here it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I use my planner, I would go from the 9 till I get to the 13. There it is. What is 117? Is my answer positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, because my signs are different. All right, now. So that's the first thing. So if my different signs with multiplication, and later you'll see also division, yes.
Are we gonna be able to use our planner on the test?
Yes. Different sign, different. Come on, Mom. Good thing I'm not an English teacher, right? Different signs mean oh my goodness, mean a negative answer. So what do you think our next rule is? So here was number 1. Here's number 2. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Same signs. If different signs meant a negative answer, what do you think same signs mean? A positive answer. Those are the only 2 things you have to remember for multiplying and dividing. You just have to multiply and divide. Isn't that fantastic? So
Totally.
much easier than addition and subtraction, right? We just have to know how to multiply and divide, which you can use your multiplication table, but some of these things you might have to think through a little bit. All right. So the submarine descends at a rate of 90 feet per minute for 11 minutes. So the expression 11 minutes times negative 90 would represent the situation. The signs are different. The product is negative. All right, so we don't have same signs yet. We still have different signs. So we still have a negative, but this one I might have to do a little differently because I can't really use my planner. But I can add a 0 at the end. What's 11 times 9? 99. So I have 990. And then it is negative. So negative 990. Because 11 times 90 is 990. My signs are different. It's negative. All right. So same as the other one, except we're adding a little bit more level of thinking because we have a word problem. All right, do you see how descending has to do with negativity?
Yeah.
Ascending would be going up and be positive. All right, so if a helicopter descends at a rate of 275 feet per minute, that's a negative 275, right? What integer represents the change in the helicopter's altitude in feet after 7 minutes? So what are we multiplying it by? 7. Well, I have to rewrite these vertically because I can't do it otherwise. So 7 times 5 is 35. Carry my 3. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus that 3 is 52. Make sure you're in 151 with us, Michael. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus that 5 makes 19. So is this a positive 1925 or a negative?
Negative.
Negative because my signs were different. All right, and here's where our second rule comes into play. Rule number 2.
What's he playing?
Same sign,
Not sign.
positive answer, right? Positive product or positive quotient when we get to division. All right, well, we know 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 0 times anything is 0. Now, when our signs are the same, negative 1 times negative 3, we actually have a positive 3. When our signs are the same, negative 2 times negative 3, we're saying 2 times 3. And since our signs are the same, our answer is positive. So the pattern shows that the product, remember that's a big word for answer to multiplication, of 2 negative numbers is positive.
Oh my God.
All right, so when multiplying 2 integers with the same sign, here we have it again. So now it's been written at least twice for us. We've written it at least twice. So hopefully we can remember that when we have positive times a positive, it's of course positive. And negative times a negative is also positive. What about negative times a positive?
It's negative.
What about positive times a negative?
Negative.
Also negative. Excellent. So do you see how multiplying is going to be so much easier?
Yeah.
Yes, our signs are the same. So is this answer positive or negative? Positive. What's 8 times 9?
I don't know. 72.
72. You can use the finger rule if you need to. Negative 8 times 9. Negative 9 rather. All right. Negative 5 times 13. Well, this one might be harder for you to know, but what is 5 times 12? That is one you should know. 60. 60 plus another 5 makes 65. Or you can think half of 13 is 6.5, times it by 10, and you would get 65. That's how I did my 5s, the bigger numbers. Half of the big number times by 10. I don't know. All right. Replace. This is just getting you used to expressions. Remember when we have letters next to each other? Yes, it is multiplication. To each other. We multiply. So I always put parentheses in place of both my X and my Y, and then I put in one of these for X and one of them for Y. And in this case, they did it for us. So 14 times 7. So this one I'd have to think through again. I would have 7 times 12, which is 84, plus 2 more 7, so another 14, 98. Or you can write it out. You can write out 14 times 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 1 is 7, plus that 2 makes 9. Since the signs of the integers are the same, the product is positive. All right. So if we wrote parentheses in place of P, in place of Q, and then we put in what P was and what Q was, we're multiplying. So I'm really adding 14 to this because it's 2 more than that. 2 more 7s than this one, but let's do it. 16 times 7. This is good practice. You should remember how to do this. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 1 is 7, plus that 4 makes 11. So I have positive 112 because my signs are the same. Here's my answer. Okay? Excellente. Now, I think we can do this next section before we multiply 3 or more integers. All right. Let's look at example 5, and then I want you to do some practice. First of all, we can combine these any way we want. We can associate them any way we want. So if we wanted to do -4 times -7 first, my signs would be the same. So what's 4 times 7? Positive something. Excellent. It's 28.
I was close.
Now I still have to multiply by a -2. So now my signs are actually
Negative
different. So my answer is negative. No, 28 times 2.
Yeah, that's 4. No,
We not smart.
If you need to add it, you can. So we have a negative answer. So the product of -4 times -7 times -2 is -56. All right, try this one. So think it through. What's -3, Michael, times -11?
33.
It's positive because our signs are the same. But then we have to multiply it by what?
-3.
-3, which makes it negative. Excellent. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So when we multiply 2 negatives, Ethan, we get a positive. Positive times a negative. So if you're just thinking of signs, Negative times a negative times a negative, we know equals a, Negative.
99.
yeah, 3 times 3,
Oh.
9. 3 times 3, 9.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. All right, so now you can do numbers, I think 1 through 9
Where?
on page 157.
Do we get all that 25 back?
You do, you have a long time.
Bro, where did it go?
Oh, no, you can do more than that.
No.
You can do 1 through 11. So remember, when you're completing your practice, when my signs are different, our answer is negative. When my signs are the same, my answer is positive. Remember when people used to say 2 wrongs don't make a right?
Yeah.
Well, 2 negatives, when they're multiplied, actually make a positive. Ethan, turn around. Okay, let's not be preschoolers right now. Let's focus on this math. So multiply, use your multiplication table. You won't be able to use, again, you won't be able to use a calculator on this quiz because you need to understand this concept. So practice using your multiplication table if you need it. Practice your multiplication, right? Now, positive times a negative is negative. Negative times a positive is going to be
Alright. What? Negative.
positive times a negative is negative. Negative times a positive is
Negative.
it's still negative, right? So the only time it's gonna end up positive is when we have 2 negatives being multiplied together
Yeah.
and then by a positive. So this is negative, this is negative, just to give you some hints. All right, so you've got 25 minutes to practice those.